There comes a quiet moment in every soul's journey when you begin to wonder what truly sustains us, not just the body, but the delicate weave of mind and spirit that so often frays with time. If you are listening to this, perhaps something in you is reaching for that hidden thread, the one that doesn't break with age but strengthens. I am 91 years old. I take no medications. I still drive myself wherever I please. And no, I don't say that to impress you. I say it because something real, something ancient, has carried me through, and I believe it wants to carry you too.
These are not secrets I found in books or from doctors. These are quiet disciplines, daily habits, rituals of the spirit and body that began whispering to me long ago. And when I listened, truly listened, they changed everything. My sleep, my energy, my memory, even my sense of peace. But more than that, they reminded me that aging is not a punishment. It's a passage, and there is a beautiful way to walk it.
What I'm about to share isn't about hacks or shortcuts. It's not a biohacker's formula or a list of anti-aging tips. No, these are living habits, things you can feel deep in your bones. They're slow, gentle, and powerful. And yes, they change my body, but they transform my mind far more. They taught me how to become light, even in a world that often feels heavy. So before we begin, take a breath with me, in and out. There is something sacred about being here, at this point in your life, asking these questions. Know that it's not too late. Whether you're 19 or 91, the body listens, the mind listens, the spirit waits. Let me take you through the 5 daily habits that have quietly shaped the last 3 decades of my life. They're simple, but if you let them, they will whisper to you too. And perhaps they will begin to carry you, just as they carried me. 1. Waking with stillness. Before the world wakes up fully, there is a thin veil of silence that covers everything. That is when I rise, not with urgency, but with reverence. I do not reach for a phone. I do not rush to wash my face. I simply sit up slowly and allow my breath to find me. There's something sacred about those first few minutes. You are still halfway between worlds, the one you dreamed in and the one you now return to. Most people skip this space. They jump from sleep into noise. But I've learned over the years that how you enter the day changes what the day becomes. When I was in my 60s, I noticed how often I woke up already feeling behind. My mind raced before I even had time to remember who I was. So one morning, without really planning it, I sat on the edge of the bed and did nothing. I closed my eyes and let my hands rest gently in my lap. I listened to the faint ticking of the wall clock, to the creak of the trees outside. I didn't pray. I didn't think. I just listened. And something shifted. That stillness became my first habit. It is only 5, maybe 10 minutes long, but it is a doorway. Before you do anything, just sit, breathe. Let your mind arrive before your body moves. Let the silence speak before you fill it. Some mornings, I hear a bird calling. Other mornings, it's the wind brushing against the window. But always, there's a sense that something is watching with me. Not in a fearful way, more like a quiet companion, patient and waiting. This practice does something you might not expect. It teaches your body that it's safe, that it doesn't have to brace itself, that the day can begin gently. In stillness, the mind stops fighting. The heart begins to open, and the body starts to trust you again. You don't need incense. You don't need a meditation cushion. You just need to pause, sit at the edge of your bed, feet touching the floor, and let the day come to you instead of chasing after it. 2. The sacred cup in the morning. After stillness, I rise slowly and make my way to the kitchen. This too has become a kind of sacred ritual, preparing a warm cup of something simple. Not coffee for stimulation, not tea for distraction, but something gentle, something that feels like it nourishes more than just the body. For me, it's warm water with lemon, sometimes with a bit of honey or sliced ginger. Some days it's a mild herbal tea, chamomile, or holy basil. But it's never rushed. It's never just something to drink. It's something I meet. I hold the cup with both hands. I inhale its warmth before I ever take a sip. It's a moment of greeting, not just to the drink, but to the day itself. This is the first thing I receive into my body after hours of fasting through sleep. I want it to be something the body recognizes as kind. Years ago, I used to drink my coffee while checking the news, reading mail, already halfway through the day in my mind. I didn't notice it then, but that kind of multitasking made everything feel harder. My body was tense before I even got out the door. One morning, after a night of poor sleep, I left the coffee pot untouched and instead warmed water and added lemon. I sat by the window and drank it slowly, with no sound except the morning breeze. It felt like my insides sighed in relief. This isn't about the drink itself, it's about the space around it. That space becomes a kind of altar. Whether it's a simple cup of water or a carefully brewed infusion, what matters is how you hold it, how you receive it. It's a moment of communion, small but meaningful, and I whisper a small thought as I drink. Thank you for this day. May I meet it well. Nothing rehearsed, nothing heavy, just an offering of presence. Over time, this sacred cup has taught me that the smallest things hold the most power if you meet them with attention. You don't need a special brand or a perfect routine, just warmth, just breath, just stillness carried into motion. 3. Walking the earth barefoot. There is something ancient that happens when your bare feet touch the ground. Not the polished floors of your home, but the real ground. Soil, grass, stone, sand. It's not just about walking, it's about remembering. The body knows this feeling, even if the mind has forgotten. We spend so much of our lives separated from the earth. Shoes, carpets, concrete, layers between us and what has always held us. And over time, we start to feel disconnected, restless, uncertain, as if we're floating through life without something solid beneath us. But the earth is always there, waiting for us to return. Not with effort, but with bare feet and a quiet presence. When you walk barefoot, especially in the early hours or just before dusk, something subtle begins to shift. You start to feel your body again, not as a burden, but as part of the world around you. The coolness of dew, the warmth of sun-kissed stone, the tickle of grass, they all bring you back into yourself gently. This is not exercise. It is not a technique. It's a soft reunion. You don't need to go far. Even a few minutes in the garden, a patch of earth by your doorstep, a quiet corner of a park. Just enough to feel the truth of where you come from and what you stand upon. Spiritually, there's a quiet knowing that begins to grow, that no matter what happens in your day or in your life, you are not unsupported. You are carried. There's a current beneath your feet, older than thought, stronger than worry. And when you place your bare feet upon it, you say without words, I'm here. I remember. Many people live their entire lives untouched by this simple connection. They walk in circles, searching for grounding, not knowing the earth was there, all along, waiting. This daily act, small as it seems, has a way of calming even the loudest mind. It reminds you that you're not separate from nature. You are nature. You are part of the breath of trees, the heartbeat of soil, the song of birds in morning mist. No belief is required, no ritual is forced, just the willingness to step outside and remember what it feels like to be human, fully and quietly alive. 4. Listening to silence. We've filled our lives with noise, soft, constant, endless. Music in the background, conversations layered on top of screens, notifications breaking the day into fragments. Even when we're alone, we rarely meet the quiet. We rush to cover it as if silence were empty or worse, uncomfortable. But silence is not empty. It is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of everything we've forgotten to hear. And in that presence, something old and sacred waits. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply is. And if you let it, it will begin to speak to you, not in words, but in knowing. Many people are afraid of silence without realizing it. The moment it arrives, they reach for distraction, a phone, a task, a thought. But in doing so, they miss something precious, the moment the soul begins to speak. You see, your spirit is not noisy. It whispers, it hums beneath the surface, and it waits for quiet to rise. To listen to silence is to admit that you don't have all the answers yet. It's to pause your cleverness and lean into something far older than your opinions. This isn't easy for most. We've been taught that movement equals meaning, and that stillness is wasted time. But that's an illusion. Stillness is where truth settles. There's a kind of spiritual laziness in avoiding silence, not out of malice, but habit. We believe growth comes from doing more, knowing more, chasing more, but the soul grows differently. It grows in listening, it grows in empty spaces, it grows in the gentle courage to be still. If you can sit in a quiet room, even just for 5 minutes, and not run from yourself, something within you will begin to return. An old wisdom, a soft clarity. You might remember things you didn't know you'd forgotten. You might hear something that isn't sound at all, but understanding. And no, it doesn't always feel peaceful at first. Sometimes the silence shows you what you've been avoiding, but that's its gift. It reveals. Not to judge, but to gently wake you up, to bring you home. Every day, I give myself at least one moment without sound. I don't fill it. I listen to it. And in that space, I find myself again. 5. Food as gentle medicine. We often think of food as fuel, as reward, as entertainment. Rarely do we think of it as a conversation. But in truth, every bite we take speaks to the body, and the body listens closely. More than calories or nutrients, food carries a frequency, a message. And if we are quiet enough inside, we begin to feel it. Many people eat without presence. They eat while scrolling, while working, while worrying. The body, meanwhile, receives the food like a letter never opened, processed, but not understood. And over time, this disconnection shows, not just in digestion, but in the spirit, in the fog of the mind, in the heaviness of the heart. But food can be something else. It can be sacred. It can be soft, healing, intuitive. It can be chosen with care and eaten with gratitude. When I eat now, I ask not, is this good or bad? But, does this bring me closer to balance? I don't follow a strict diet. I don't believe in fear around food. I simply listen to how I feel afterward, to what my body seems to ask for. Warm, simple meals made with life in them, fruits that feel alive, broths that comfort, spices that awaken. Not because a book told me, but because my body did. Eating slowly has become one of my greatest medicines. I chew with attention. I pause between bites. I smell the food before I taste it. It may sound small, but it's a ceremony, a return to gratitude. A way of saying, thank you, life, for this offering. There's wisdom in the body we forget. It knows what heals and what harms, but we drown it out with rules and rushing. If we just slowed down, we'd remember. The same way the earth grows what we need, our bodies already carry the knowledge of what supports us. We only need to listen again. So let food be more than habit. Let it be a quiet medicine, one you take not just with your mouth but with your heart. You'll find that healing doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it's just a bowl of something warm, eaten with both hands, in the soft light of a calm room. 6. Stretching like a river. The body is not meant to be stiff. It is meant to flow, like water, like breath, like music you cannot see. And yet, we often treat the body like a machine, pushing it until it breaks, or ignoring it until it aches. We forget that the body isn't separate from the soul. It is the soul's vessel. And how we move it, or don't, shapes the way we feel, think, and even dream. Each morning, before the noise of the world begins, I move slowly, not with the purpose of exercise, but with the intention of awakening. A stretch here, a roll of the neck there, arms raised to the sky, as if greeting something above that watches with love. It's not about form, it's not about performance. It's about remembering that I am not made of stone. Think of how rivers move, never hurried, never rigid, but always alive. That's how the body wants to move, gently, with breath. The muscles aren't just tissue, they're memory. They hold stress, yes, but they also hold peace if we invite it in. There's a softness in this kind of stretching. You're not fighting your body. You're listening to it. Where is there tightness? Where is there ease? Where does the breath feel stuck? You move not to control, but to cooperate. People often overlook this kind of movement. They think it doesn't do enough. But they miss what's really happening. In slow, mindful stretching, you're not just lengthening the limbs. You're opening channels of energy. You're telling your body, I'm here. I feel you. I care for you. And that message over time transforms how you age. Stretching is where the body begins to trust you again. It lets go. It softens. And in that softening, something sacred returns. You begin to feel spacious, Light, almost like water. You don't need a routine, you don't need the right clothes, just a quiet space and a willingness to move kindly. 5 minutes is enough. Let the body unfold, like petals in the morning sun. This is not about being flexible, it's about being present. And when you stretch with presence, the body becomes a prayer, one whispered slowly, gently, with grace. 7. The ritual of no rush. There is a quiet strength in moving slowly, not out of laziness, but out of awareness. In a world that prizes urgency, fast answers, fast progress, fast everything, there is something deeply spiritual about choosing not to rush. When you rush, you are not truly present. Your hands may be here, but your mind is already there. The moment is lost, traded for the next one, and the next, until your whole day becomes a blur. And somewhere in that blur, your spirit starts to dim. You forget how to feel the weight of a breath, the warmth of a touch, the peace of a single moment held fully. I've learned over many years that slowness is not weakness. It is a kind of wisdom. It allows you to see clearly what others miss. It gives space for intuition to speak. It allows your nervous system to soften, your thoughts to settle, your heart to open. Moving slowly doesn't mean doing less. It means doing with depth. When I wash a dish, I feel the water. When I tie my shoes, I notice the shape of my hands. When I speak, I take a moment to taste the words before they leave my mouth. These small choices are not dramatic, but they change everything. Most people live in a state of mild panic without even realizing it. Their shoulders are tight, their breath is shallow, their minds never stop spinning. And because it's so common, it feels normal, but it's not. The soul cannot grow in a state of constant speed. It needs still water, it needs time. So I began a quiet practice I call the ritual of no rush. I give myself permission to move at the pace of peace. I arrive when I arrive. I speak when the words are ready. I do not force the day into shape. I let it unfold like a flower, not yanked open but blooming on its own time. You'll be surprised what happens when you do this. You begin to see beauty in places you never noticed. You begin to feel gratitude for things that once felt invisible. And most of all, you begin to feel yourself again, not as a machine, but as a being. 8. Touching the day with gratitude. There is a quiet moment, often overlooked, where the heart is most open, right after you've paused, stretched, walked, breathed. It's the moment where the day is no longer waiting, but fully here. And in that space, I reach out, not with hands, but with thanks. Gratitude is not something I save for grand occasions. It's not reserved for holidays or victories. It's something I touch every single day, like brushing my hand along the bark of a tree as I walk past. It doesn't take time, it takes awareness. This kind of gratitude isn't loud. It's not even always spoken. It's felt. In the body, in the breath, in the gentle way your eyes meet the light coming through the window. It's noticing that you woke up, that your legs held you today, that your heart, despite everything, kept going. Gratitude doesn't ask you to ignore your pain. It asks you to see what else is here too. We are trained, from a young age, to want more, to chase improvement. But wanting more often blinds us to the beauty already in our hands. We walk past moments of grace without ever seeing them. A cup of tea at the right temperature, a bird call just as you step outside, the smile of someone who sees you. These things seem small, but when received with gratitude, they become sacred. I make it a habit, sometime during the day, to pause and say quietly, "Thank you for this." Not to anyone in particular, just into the air, into the silence, into the space that holds me. It's not about what I'm thanking, it's about the act of thanking itself. A soft bow to life. Gratitude softens the mind. It calms the nervous system. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. And it opens the spirit to receive more. Not more things, but more depth, more connection, more peace. You don't have to write it down. You don't have to say it out loud. But if you can feel even one moment of true thankfulness each day, it changes the shape of your life. It turns routine into ritual, movement into meaning, and the day, however simple, becomes enough. 9. Evening light and inner sight. There's something sacred about the light just before nightfall. It doesn't rush to disappear. It softens. It lingers. It turns gold, then blue, then barely there, inviting us to do the same, to slow, to soften, to return to ourselves. Evening is not just the end of the day, it's the return inward, a spiritual doorway, if you let it be. Most people carry their busyness into the evening, as if the day hasn't finished speaking. But the truth is, the day has spoken. Now it's time to listen to what it left behind. I use this time to reconnect, not with the world, but with what's beneath the world. As the sky dims, I dim the lights inside too. I move a little slower. I speak a little less. I begin to shift from doing to simply being. And that shift is where the soul breathes. The body starts to whisper here. You feel where you've carried tension, where you've ignored thirst, where your spirit asks for a little more quiet. And if you listen, truly listen, you'll start to see inward. Not just what happened today, but how it touched you, what it stirred in your thoughts, what it left in your heart. Evening light invites reflection, not analysis. You don't need to dissect the day, just sit with it. Let the images drift across your mind like clouds. What was beautiful? What was heavy? What did you learn without even noticing? This is not a time for judgment, it's a time for honesty. And that honesty, when met with gentleness, becomes insight, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that nudges. That says, you could live a little softer tomorrow. You could forgive a little deeper. You could listen more fully. I don't fill my evenings with noise. I light a candle. I drink something warm. I sit by a window if there's moonlight, or in the dark if there's not. And in that stillness, I feel the day settle within me. I let it become part of me quietly. The outer light fades, the inner sight grows. 10. Sleeping as a sacred return. Sleep is not the end of the day, it is the quiet doorway back into the unseen. A return to the deep, the still, the space where you are held without effort. Most people treat sleep like an off switch, collapsing into it after squeezing out every drop of energy. But sleep is not a collapse, it is a surrender, a sacred one. When we begin to see sleep as a spiritual return, everything about it changes. It is no longer just rest, it becomes reunion. With what exactly is hard to say. Perhaps with your truest self, perhaps with a world behind the world. But every night, we cross that invisible threshold, whether we're aware or not, and how we cross it matters. I approach sleep the way I would approach a gentle ceremony. The lights are dimmed long before I lie down. My movements slow. My voice softens. I let the noise of the day dissolve without needing to solve everything before closing my eyes. The unfinished becomes okay. The unresolved is allowed to rest too. This softness is powerful. It tells the body, you are safe now. It tells the mind, you can let go. And it tells the soul, you may drift back to the place where all things begin again. There is healing in the way the body repairs itself at night, but there is also spiritual healing, invisible yet deep. In dreams, old emotions surface and are released. In deep sleep, the nervous system recalibrates. In the space between waking and sleep, insights often arise like quiet messengers. Many people never make peace with sleep. They resist it. Or they fill their nights with noise, avoiding the truth that comes in silence. But the truth is gentle. It only wants to be seen, not judged. Sleep is a kind of trust. You let go of the world. You close your eyes not knowing where your awareness will drift. And yet, every morning, you return, new, even if just slightly. That return is a miracle we often forget. So treat sleep with tenderness, not as an end, but as a sacred return to yourself. Lay down like someone releasing a prayer into the darkness, and let the night receive you, fully, quietly, as you are. There's something I believe that not everyone will agree with. Aging is not meant to weaken us, it's meant to awaken us. The body may slow, yes, but the spirit, if tended to, becomes sharper, freer, even more alive. What if the true purpose of growing old isn't decline, but remembrance? If that stirs something in you, or even challenges you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you felt this shift yourself? Or is it something you're just beginning to wonder about? Share your experience below. I read every comment, and I truly enjoy connecting with each of you. So here I am, 91 years old, no medications, still driving, still breathing deeply through each day. Not because I chased health, but because I learned to live with life, not against it. These habits I've shared aren't tricks or secrets. They are quiet companions, gentle rhythms that, over time, rewrote the way I age, the way I think, the way I feel. If there's one thing I hope you take with you, it's this. Your life can be soft and powerful at the same time. You don't need to fight time. You only need to walk with it slowly, gently, like a friend.